Hey, Alex Miller at Cabneon here. In this video, I'd like to tell you about a major fine levied on WhatsApp by regulators in Europe under GDPR, and what is maybe interesting and worth noticing about it. Before I get started, I'll just point out that I've been talking about WhatsApp for a while. A few months ago, I did a video about how WhatsApp has nice privacy features. They seem to design everything in a way so that you could accidentally not use them. And I personally dumped this app a while ago. So if there's any value in putting your money where your mouth is, I have done so. So what exactly happened? Regulators in Europe, and particularly the Data Protection Commission in Ireland, levied a 225 million euro fine on WhatsApp because of how they did not properly notify European citizens of how it handles their personal data. And they were also ordered to make updates to their privacy policy. Now, what's interesting in particular about this fine? It's the second largest fine ever. It's part of an investigation that has actually been running since 2018. It's what's called an own volition investigation, which means that the regulator in Ireland looked at some things they thought were a problem on their own, and they opened an investigation of what they thought was inappropriate, and then here we are. So implicit here is that this fine does not suggest that WhatsApp was given a thorough once-over and the rest of what they're doing is okay under the law. And in fact, there's almost a quiet suggestion that this is not the case. So it's worth noting that at the time when this investigation was opened, there were a lot of complaints and suits against WhatsApp related to GDPR. And apparently, these complaints can run into the thousands, 10,000 plus per year. To reiterate, this was the Irish Data Protection Commission. And this is interesting and important because a lot of these big tech companies have their European headquarters in Ireland, and under GDPR, this makes the Irish Data Protection Commission the tip of the spear in terms of enforcement. And there's been a lot of criticism that Ireland has not been moving quickly enough to fine people harshly enough. So it's noteworthy that this has finally come out, this major fine of the Irish Data Protection Commission. And once again, it's an own volition investigation. At one point in the past, and this is harder to find in the current news about this recent fine just a couple weeks ago, Ireland was kind of talking about giving a much smaller fine, and the data protection commissions in other EU member states pushed back, said it wasn't big enough. So as I often emphasize when I talk about these issues, there's a strong element of federalism. There's a political and diplomatic process in the background, you could say, that determines how these different actors act, because while it's a European Union-wide law, of course, it's the individual national data protection commissions that do the enforcement. And then finally, it's worth noting that WhatsApp is a part of Facebook, which is an advertising company. So there's a long history of WhatsApp's, I would argue, not super excited about privacy. There was a scandal that led to a lot of uptake of Signal a little bit ago, which is what I would recommend you use instead, about how they made various claims about how they were going to handle data, and they just changed their minds overnight. So it's worth watching in general to pull a few of these threads together. While this is the second biggest fine ever, it is probably not over. There's still a lot of wheels turning in Europe that could result in more fines on totally different issues. Once again, this is about what WhatsApp told people about their app and not even about their app per se. So that final battle over what they actually do with the data that is not really approved thus far could still be coming.